Anna, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Uh, what does the United States ultimately wants with Greenland?
Well, look, the president's been very clear about this. We need to have Greenland for purposes of our national security. Of course, the president is an innovative thinker. He wasn't elected to preserve the status quo. And so that's why he's long thought of different ways to preserve our national security, especially with regard to this Golden Dome, which is going to be really critical, not just for the next few years, but for decades to come of protecting our homeland here in the United States.
But people in Greenland doesn't want to be part of the U.S. How is the U.S. going to convince them?
I think perhaps there might be a difference in what's being publicly postured versus privately postured, but I know that there's a number of extremely productive conversations, again, because the president is firmly committed to alliances like NATO.
Paying for Greenland a possibility? There's so many media outlets that have said that the possible price tag for this is going to be around $700 million or $1 billion for this. At the end of the day, is the United States going to be willing to pay for this?
Well, of course, the president has a number of options at his disposal. He's been very clear on that. He's not one to present red lines on himself, but he's been very clear. The United States needs Greenland for purposes of our national security. It's a strategically critical location for our country, and so he's exploring multiple avenues to do that, and that is certainly one of them.
Second question that we have in terms of international policy is what's going on in Venezuela. People in Venezuela feel, according to the latest polls, that it was correct to remove Maduro, but not necessarily they're fine with the fact that Delcy Rodriguez is staying in power, that the Madurismo is in power. What is the take of the White House in terms of what's going to come next in terms of democracy in Venezuela?
Yeah, so I know that the president's number one priority right now is stability, and he is working well with the interim government in Venezuela to, of course, facilitate this oil deal. The president has also said that he is going to look at elections down the line, but in the meantime, we need to make sure that the government of Venezuela can be stable while we continue to facilitate these really important economic opportunities for the people of that country.
The president has said that this new period of international relationships with Latin America is sort of a new Monroe Doctrine, similar to the Monroe Doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
What's the most important difference between what it was the Monroe Doctrine and what the president has in mind?
Yeah, I think, well, the president is the first one in decades to really take this issue seriously, right? Because again, protecting our homeland from drugs, criminals all over the world is something that's incredibly important. It's something that he addressed on day one by securing our southern border. And he's continuing to address by, of course, the arrest of Nicolas Maduro, a narco-terrorist who was facilitating the spread of drugs, criminals into our country. But also we need to make sure we are enlisting established partners across Latin America on these issues and also expanding those relationships.
What does that mean for Mexico, especially? We have a strong relationship with Mexico, a huge border. What are going to be the next steps with Mexico?
Mm-hmm. Well, I know the president does have a good relationship with President Sheinbaum of Mexico. And of course, a big effort is making sure, again, similar issues, addressing the flood of drugs and criminals into our country. Of course, the president's very concerned about the predominance of cartels in Mexico and the threat that that poses to our national security here in the United States. So again, I'm not going to place red lines on the president. He has a number of options to address that issue, but I know he is very concerned about the national security implications presented by the widespread cartels in Mexico and all across Latin America.
First was the shooting of the boats in the Caribbean, Southern Caribbean, Pacific Caribbean as well. Then the president said that the next step was going to be bombing or attacking inland drug cartels in Venezuela, probably in Colombia and probably in Mexico. That hasn't happened. Is it going to happen in the near future?
Well, of course, I'm not going to preview any of the actions that the president might take, but it's something that it could happen, right? The president has a number of options at his disposal. It was a 2023 campaign promise to take on the cartels, designate them as foreign terrorist organizations, and he's going to continue to do that to protect the national security of Americans here at home.
Anna, thank you very much.
Thank you.